Hey everybody, Gisele Grenier here. In this video tutorial, I'd like to talk to you about values. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I place probably the most important on values. Values to me are probably one is critical in a painting. That's what gives us the depth. Values is the lightness or darkness of a color, and this applies to actual painting on canvas or on paper in mixed media. Even how you dress your clothing, to layer darks versus lights, how you put on your makeup, your eyeshadow. In the crease is usually a darker value than on the eyelid, which is a lighter value. Values we use a lot. Okay, even when you're assembling a plate for a dinner party or something, you want the colors to be nice and vibrant. You place lights next to darks and all that stuff. So I just realized I got paint all over my hands. So in this exercise, we're just going to take three colors plus black and white, and we're going to make some value scales and then judge the order that these colors are in lightness and darkness. Now, ideally, you want to do this with every color in your limited palette, but because of time, I'm just going to use these sets of colors. So what I have the Decor Traditions paints. So on your chart, put values. Then the bottom, put the brand of paint that you have. If you're using different brands for the different colors, just put them at the top, the brand names. So I've got titanium white. I've got titanium white here, and I've also got that on my palette. And then I've got yellow oxide. I put that over here. Naphtha red light over here. Burnt sienna, and then carbon black. Typically, when we do a value scale, we always use black. That's boring. Let's use some color. So anytime we're doing a value scale, basically what you're doing is you're taking the purest color and then you're making a scale to white. The other way is you can actually put the color smack dab in the middle. Have it go, let's do it this way so it matches. So have the color here, and then you go white, and then put black, and then you have it go to black. The problem with if we were to use black is that black overpowers so quickly. I can show you on the palette what it would look like, but using black, we don't really use black a lot in my method of painting. We use something called chromatic black, and I will teach you how to make that in a future lesson. So in making a value scale, there's so many different ways of doing it. You can take white to this color, and then you can mix it on a palette. I like to kind of simplify it. So let's bring out a good amount of color here. It's going to make a nice big swatch. To me, I'm in my 50s. I need to see stuff big. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some white and mix that in there. I'm going to put that right about here. Then from here, I'm going to take more white. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to take more white and put it here. So there's that value scale. I'm just going to wipe out the excess. And then I'm going to take that color. I'm going to take some more burnt sienna. And I'm going to go right here. And then more burnt sienna and go right here. Took a bit too much paint out of my brush. Just a little too much. Okay, so there's a value scale. So you can do it that way. Make sure you clean your brush really well in between. Then we'll do yellow oxide. Okay, so now I'm going to do it a different way. So the way we did it before, we took burnt sienna on the palette, added white in the middle. Now I'm going to do it this way. Yellow oxide, take white, add it here. A bit more white, add it here. A bit more white, add it here. Try to add the same amount of white each time. Add it here, and then more white, and add it here. This is the easiest. It's the easiest when you don't use something that's super duper intense. Okay. What you don't want to do is start off by taking white and adding, take white here and add this color to this, because you could easily overpower us. But let me show you how we do that anyway. So if we take white, we use a lot of white. I'm going to take a little bit of red. See? Already. So now I'm going to add a lot more white. it's easier going this way. Okay, then we'll go here and we'll take a little bit of red and take a little bit of red, take a bit more red, and take a bit more red. Okay, and I forgot to make my big spot here. Here we go. Alrighty, so you can choose whichever way you want to do it. It's completely up to you. Don't make it a perfect gradation color wheel, or sorry, value scale, you know, with perfect gradations. You know, no, don't worry about that. The black is the one that I really like working with, because with the black you can really see the shift, and then you can make this one really long. It is a bit boring just using black though, but it gives you a really good understanding comparing it to the other colors. So when you're looking at this, when you're looking at these charts, put them in order. Is burnt sienna darker than yellow oxide? Is it darker than, I got too much paint on there. Is it darker than naphtha red light? Where does it sit? Where do you think it sits on a value scale? And this is where product information comes in handy. Okay, I'm going to let that dry for a sec. I'm going to come over here. Now, if we were to go the other way, so just to give you an idea, when you add black, how overpowering it gets. That's why I don't do a lot of value scales by just with black, but it does help. It does help. And then from there, if you want to see a true underlying color, you can add white. Okay, so that's yellow oxide with black. Then you would keep going, and then you could also just add white to see the true underlying color. And to me, this looks like it's got green in it now. That looks like it's got some green in it. Isn't that interesting? I could do this forever. I love doing this. And then taking some black with burnt sienna. And it gets to the point where it's hard to see the true underlying color because it's so dark. So add a little bit more. And add some white. And just neutral. Black just kind of neutralizes everything. It just makes it nice and dull. So if we turn around and compare, so that's the burnt sienna with black. See how dull it is? So that's close to the value right there, but it's much duller. Okay, then the yellow oxide, you know, right about that. I'm trying to have it where it doesn't shine. And then the naphtha red light, that doesn't even come into play here because this is so intense. But you can see black really dulls things down. To put them into order, this is where the product labeling comes into play. So if I look, now DecoArt has it where the value is the high number, lower value is a low number. So carbon black is 2.2, whereas titanium white is 9.5. Darkest, lightest. So let's turn. So we have, let's see, yellow oxide. And we have, actually they're in order. Oh, son of a gun. Let's bring out another color. They're already in order. That's too close. I'm trying to find one. Nope. Here we go. So if we were to take a look at permanent alizarin crimson, I want you to tell me, now from video it's a little hard to see because what the color you see is not necessarily the same as the color that I see. But if we were to look at alizarin crimson, value-wise, where do you think it sits? These are already in order. So carbon black is the dullest, and carbon black is, on the value scale, it's 2.2. Naphtha red light is, let's see, 4.4. Burnt sienna is 3.4. And yellow oxide is 6.1. So this one here is the lightest, then next to that, then next to that, then next to that. Okay, so light, dark. So this is the order. On the paper, they're not in the right order, but this here, this is the right order. Oops, you can't see that. Oh, God, I hope that doesn't fall. Darkest to lightest. That's the order, the value. Dark to light, okay? Where do you think this sits? If we were to look, where do you think that sits? This is where you sit and you judge. When we look at color this way, we get blinded by the color, the actual color itself. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm not sure if this will show up well on camera. I'm going to convert everything to black and white. That's the instant way you're going to be able to tell the actual value of the color. So if you ever get stuck with something, take a picture with your phone or with your camera and then convert it to black and white. You can use something like Snapseed, which is a free app, or run it through the free version of Lightroom and just convert it to black and white, and that's going to help you with values. As well, when I teach oil painting, I always teach it. The best way is basically a grisaille. You do a black and white first in acrylics, and then you do your oil layers on top. That way the value is always correct. Value is so important. So for this exercise, you're going to pick your paints and you're going to put them in order the way you think they are. Write the product information, create your value scale. But as a bonus, I want you to tell me where you think these colors sit. Are they darker and lighter than these? Where do you think they sit? Okay. Converting the image to black and white makes it easier to see. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to turn these over. Don't want these to fall over. There. And sorry, I just don't want this to fall over. It's going to make a mess. There. Do I have that right? Carbon black is 2.2. Sorry, I got the number. No, yeah, 2.2. Can't read upside down. 2.1. Ultramarine blue, according to DecoArt, is 2.1, where carbon black is 2.2. So that kind of gives you some interesting information that it's darker than that. Not sure why, but it doesn't look it. I figured black is black. And then we have, this is a permanent alizarin crimson at 3.9. The naphthol red light, 4.4. Yellow oxide is 6.1. And titanium white 9.5. So this here is really interesting. It's not that much of a difference, 2.1 to 2.2, not really much of a difference. But I find it interesting that according to DecoArt, this is darker in value than this. That's just interesting. So we'll see with it being converted to black and white if we see that being true. So that's going to be your exercise. You create your value scales, take your colors, put them in order. That way you see if you have your product information, do that as well. And when we actually get to analyzing individual colors, you want to create value scales for every color you have in your limited palette. So make sure you put everything in a 3-ring binder. That's the best way because you can insert as you go. And make sure you label what the chart is, the brand of paints you used, and as well any additional notes. So snap a picture actually in color and snap it in black and white. Post it in the comments below. You can either do that in the community or in Facebook. YouTube doesn't allow pictures, so you're best to do it over on the other 2 platforms. And it'd be interesting to see what you come up with. Alrighty, so until I see you in the next lesson, stay inspired.